Hey there, welcome back to Ask Amy. I have a question today from Mary. Mary says, I'm writing to you because I often experience anxiety and panic attacks, especially after giving birth to our first child 10 years ago. I have a life that in some periods is governed by anxious thoughts and feelings. I feel limited by my thoughts and feelings. She says, my anxiety is very much related to my role as a mother. I've always been afraid in some way that I would cause my children to grow up and not be well. For example, they would grow up and become mentally ill or suffer in some way, or that me and my husband's actions or decisions about upbringing make the children feel wrong or have a bad life when they grow up. I find that I spend a lot of energy considering what to do and say in everyday life. Sometimes I feel that what I'm passing on to my children is a petty life, and their childhood and later life are being affected by my anxious condition. Like right now, for example, you talk a lot in the community about being in reality versus imagination. How am I supposed to teach my children to be in reality or be present when I myself and my husband live in abstraction or imagination almost always? And every action on my part toward the children reflect that. Mary goes on to talk about having her own health anxiety around mental health issues, and that there were some mental health, I'm not going to read it all because it's a little long, but there were mental health issues in her family, and that's kind of where this came from, concerned that she might experience some of those things, which is really understandable, Mary. I want to comment on some things I've already read, but let me read the end of your question. She says, I feel that I understand how the mind works and that something has shifted. With some subjects, I see clearly that it's thought. Even at times, I feel kind of a bliss seeing through the whole illusion, but I really don't see it with my anxious thoughts. I watch and listen to YouTube videos and various podcasts daily, hoping that something might shift my experience and understanding. Some days I feel like I'm on the right track, but other days I feel like I've lost the understanding, and I'm afraid it's just a different way of looking at psychology that isn't helpful. So, Mary, first, I think, when you give which I didn't exactly read, but when you kind of give the background of what you've been through with people in your family having mental health issues, it's really common. And one of the topics of intrusive thoughts, of worries like this, is mental health. It's really not uncommon. So I just want you to know that, first of all, and to see, it kind of makes sense that when you're feeling anxious and when your mind is racing about things, it's just chosen this topic of mental health, your own, and then your children someday, to focus on. That it could focus on anything. Minds focus on whatever they focus on, and they spin on these things, but whatever it is, it's thought repeating itself. It's thought, as you said, in imagination. It's thought telling stories. It's not about your family history per se, like that's not here right now. It's only here right now as a thought. It's not about your own mental health right now. That's what thought is saying. That's the narrative. That's the overlay. It's certainly not about your children's future, because they don't have a future. That's not here right now. That's only here in imagination. So I love that you have heard me say that and picked up on it, because you're absolutely right. That really is the crux of this. Noticing and seeing, and you do on some level, but there's so much more we can really come to realize around this. The difference between imagination, that includes anything that is it's just anything that's not right here. The past, the interpretations of what's happened in the past, all of this stuff, all of the worry about the future, even the worry right now about you and your husband not being present enough with your kids and what that might be doing, that's worry. That's not actual, immediate, direct experience reality. It's imagination. And we see that, to some degree. Sometimes we see it to a large degree, but it still feels really true, or we're a little gripped, or we just don't completely see it. And I think it's so nice and simple to just keep it right there. And again, I love that you picked up on that. When you say you've had some shifts and you've even felt some bliss of seeing through this whole illusion, you just don't see it with the anxious thoughts. That's amazing. That's what you want to double down on. So sometimes also this can be, or a start, can be as simple as kind of remembering what's reality, like what's true, what's real, like what does freedom feel like? What does reality feel like? And what does it feel like to be an imagination? So anytime you are feeling this heaviness, this worry, this anxiety, all the thoughts about what could happen someday or how it was for other people, that's imagination. I know you know that, but it's like, that's the thing we want to keep coming back to and seeing like, oh, this is what's going on right now. And then just come back to here. I mean, right here, right now, even in the feeling of that, even in the anxious feeling that shows up in that, that's immediate. So if your mind is imagining that your children are damaged at some point in the future and that's the story that's playing out, you're going to feel that physically, but you can be in those physical sensations because that's not my kid's horrible future. That's a sensation. It's energy. It's something that's immediate and here right now. That's reality. The story that came before it or that's coming along with it, not reality, imagination. But the feel of the table on your hands, the sensation in your body, the colors, the sounds, like this is real. So I think for you, like, and for anyone, this isn't complicated. It's not complicated at all. And I wouldn't necessarily watch a bunch of videos and think that's going to help either. It might. I mean, certainly there's helpful things out there. But I think I would love to work with you or see you work with someone to just really look closely at what's actually going on right here and now. To see in real time in your experience when you're in imagination versus when you're in reality. And to come back down into the direct experience of things as much as possible. From there, it's so much easier to see the mind just went off and told this story. Oh, a fantasy about my kids being damaged someday just came in. Oh, this concern just came in. Like, it's hard to see that, impossible sometimes to see that from in the middle of it. But when we're kind of more here in reality, open to feeling, it's in a more subtle experience of life. It's in kind of like the essence of things, not the abstraction so much. Then it gets so much easier when you're here in the subtlety and the actual felt sense of things. You're kind of swimming through life in that felt sense more than thinking. You start to really feel the difference. It feels very, very different. Thought has a different density, a different feel to it than just being here now. So just to remind you, I know you know this, but all of the content of what your thoughts are saying about what could happen and what could happen to you and what could happen to them, there's nothing in that that's helpful or trustworthy. Nothing. Because often there's also a sense of like, well, yeah, but it is in my family history and maybe it could happen. And that's enough to just keep it around a little bit, And so I just want to be really extreme about that. Whatever happens in life, whatever comes up for any of us in life, it's dealt with. We have this capacity, infinite capacity, really, to deal with things in real time. So the way your mind is kind of wanting to hold on to this because it could be a problem at some point, that is so not even necessary, but not true. It's not accurate. And it's definitely not necessary. It's definitely not helpful. So I don't know. I would want to look at that a lot more with you too. So I'm just throwing out a few pointers here. I really am starting to feel more and more strongly that, watching some videos, it's just not enough for everyone, but really just getting in there with someone and looking at this and it makes a giant difference. So I hope you'll do that. So thank you so much for sending your question. Thanks everyone for listening. You can send your questions to askamy@thelittleschoolofbigchange.com, and I will see you next time.